How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV and the Fourever Arsenal podcast, usually exclusive to AFTV VIP. There's a link in the description box below to make sure you can go over there and put it in your homepage and keep more up to date with the Fourever Arsenal podcast, usually weekly, but today we're here on AFTV. Leave your thoughts below. Lads, Lee, Mo, James, we're back again. Another mistake, more points dropped. Where do we begin?
Well, I'm going to say it's been a disastrous weekend, really. Football-wise, it's been always those morning games. I don't know how you guys felt, but it felt like a loss. That's, I think, the last two we've lost on a Saturday morning, and that one felt just the way it went. We messed up ourselves. We should have won the game from ourselves. We've shot ourselves in the foot like we always do. But I have to say also that if VAR does its job properly, which it does for every other team bar us, we would have got the result. I know that we was the masters of our own downfall, but the facts are that if the referee does his job properly, like everybody said he should have, we would have won the game. I've got no problems with the VAR with the one off the shoulder. It proves that it was the right call. But the other handball is an absolute joke of a decision. It's cost us the 2 points in reality, and Turkish would have been a lot higher in the league if it was the case, but that's how we have to look at it. But I'm going to say it now, a worry now this week coming up with the Europa League. I'm worried about that. Them down the road have hit form at the wrong time, so this is going to be this could be a tough week for us, boys, but it also could be a good week if we can get our act together. Looking at the game, if we just take our chances, boys, we would have been safe, and it would have been, everybody would be talking about what a different performance it was, because I thought we played really well first half. Second half, not so good once Burnley sorted themselves out. But, it's a frustration day. And I'm going to say it, I felt cheated. And then what makes it even worse, the next day, Kevin Friend is refereeing a game of football. I had to turn it off. I couldn't stand to watch that man referee a game. And VAR, I'm sorry, is ruining football because it's not facts. It's still an opinion of a referee and incompetent referees up and down this country. And that's my thoughts on it. We could go into the VAR thing all day and all night, but that's how I feel. I feel cheated at the end of the game.
Anyone else?
I just feel like, look, obviously VAR is a factor, but the way I've always been is I always try and look at the team first and what was in our control first before talking about referees. I only like to really talk about referees and VAR where I feel like they are the true differential. But when you go and do what Granit Xhaka did, I feel like so as I say, VAR was a differential in this game. We will talk about it. But when you go and do what Granit Xhaka did, it's funny because, Lee, you've said yet again, VAR, and they're not doing, VAR's not doing his job properly, or the referees aren't doing their job properly. And then you're saying, VAR goes Kevin Friend goes unpunished, makes mistakes, still refereeing tomorrow. And then you apply all of what you've said and you say, well, let's apply that to Granit Xhaka. Yet again, Granit Xhaka not doing his job properly. And next game, Granit Xhaka will be playing yet again. So I just find it funny that I think there's such a big parallel to what we say about referees and what we say about Granit Xhaka, because this is not an isolated incident. We'd all forgive VAR if it got one wrong, one off. And we'd all forgive Granit Xhaka if he got one wrong. But these are patterns now, yeah? And so I just kind of feel like it's funny. On one hand, we really hate VAR. We kind of no, it's not acceptable. It needs to be improved or get rid of it entirely. We thought it was going to be good, but it hasn't turned out that way. So now just cut your losses, get rid of it. So, and then we kind of say, it shouldn't, there should be accountability for referees. They shouldn't be picked for games again, blah, blah. Are we all consistent in applying that to Xhaka, or is there a reason why we shouldn't apply that thought to Granit Xhaka?
Well, one thing about Granit Xhaka, I will say this: he hasn't got a rewind button and can't keep rewinding to make and make his mistake better or whatever. He can't do that. It's a one-off decision that he has to make. Kevin Friend can look at that 15, 16 times, which he probably did, And instead of looking at it and saying, "Oh, it's a penalty," how can I try and get it? What made it even worse is at least with Granit Xhaka, he come out and said, "I'm sorry, it's my mistake. I've made a mistake." Not like VAR trying to justify it, like by making excuses why they didn't give it. And the fact is, I don't blame Granit Xhaka, by the way, for making mistake after mistake, because it's down to the manager for continuing to let him play. You know, how many more? I look at other players in the team that have made mistakes. Danny Ceballos made a horrendous mistake against Benfica, dropped. Holding made mistakes, dropped. Granit Xhaka, Lacazette misses chances, dropped. Aubameyang misses chances, keeps in the team. Granit Xhaka continues to make mistakes, continues to stay in the team. So who are you actually looking to blame? You know, you can blame the player, but if you continue, as you say, if you're continually allowed to make mistakes, you're going to continue to do it.
Yeah, James, is there any truth in that, do you think, in terms of Xhaka being favoured? Because before I leave my comment on it, I think I want to hear a bit more about that, because I haven't looked into that yet. In terms of, I can tell the favour with Willian and how he really tried to push him. With Xhaka, I feel like it's just a case of a lack of depth in that position.
This is difficult. Because I'll tell you why it's difficult, because I've seen Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery, even Freddie Ljungberg in his brief spell, and Arteta all basically make him the kind of staple part of their midfield. You know, they've all said Xhaka starts, and I've never understood it. I can sort of conjure up something to do with his positioning and his leadership qualities and his understanding of the game and all that, good passing range, but I've never really understood what Xhaka has that makes him undroppable. With Aubameyang, I get it, because he can score out of nothing. You know, he can be on a run of 10 goals that game, but I will still understand why he's been picked for the next one. But with Granit Xhaka, I don't really get it. I'll give him this. I think he's improved a lot since his red card against Burnley. I also think he's come on leaps and bounds under Arteta, but I'm still not seeing the midfielder that I want to see being the main guy, you know, in the heart of the Arsenal team. So I think there is a degree of favouritism. I agree with Mo Anley. You know, all right, we've talked about VAR. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a bit more. But I think there's self-inflicted issues that we need to look at first, and the continual picking of a player like Granit Xhaka is one of them.
He does have a lot of fans out there, though. That's the thing about it too. Yeah. And you made a couple of comments there, James, that it got under my skin, not because you made them, it's the comments in itself, because a lot of fans say this. He's improved a lot. He's come on leaps and bounds. That gets under my skin, because I feel like that's us lowering our standards, or that's us avoiding the reality of the matter, which is he good enough? And
that's me trying to be fair. I'm just trying to play, maybe, because I'm with you. It gets under my skin as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you think, does anyone here think, Mo, Lee, James, do you think that mentality or that outlook approach to it is part of the problem? We as fans don't really tend to apply pressure. Look, we know that there's no pressure throughout this club in terms of from top to bottom. The lack of pressure has led us to where we are now. But as a fan base, surely we can apply a bit more pressure than we are now, or we have been in the last 2 years. And I think comments like that, and I know what you're saying, it gets under your skin, my skin, but you want to look at the bright side of things. It's just that how many times can you look at the bright side before shit hits the fan again?
I don't think the individual comments. I don't think it's fair to put it on the fans, because I feel like fans can set a culture of acceptance or non-acceptance of the way a club is run and decisions and that sort of thing. The how in some clubs fans will have ultras will have a room within the club where they keep all their flags and all of that sort of stuff, and they actually have that communication with internal staff at the club. We're very, very far removed from that. This is sort of a come in, buy a little snack, watch the game, leave early so you avoid the rush and go home sort of vibe at our club. So we're so far removed from what we say actually having an impact on club decisions or policy that I don't think it's fair to say it's anything to do with the fans, really. But
Mo, can I interject there just at that point? Because with Xhaka, there came a point, I think, in Xhaka's Arsenal career where I think the fans could have made the decision for the club. And we know what that point was when, Emery went, Arteta came in, and, I think everyone can understand Arteta trying to give him a fresh approach. But I think we as fans also gave him that clean slate yet again because of Arteta coming in.
I don't think we had a choice, Turkish. And that's what I say. That's what I mean. I think that where fans really have a voice, and if fans are like really, really valued in a way, I think a lot of clubs where fans really are valued, like if that happened at Dortmund, for example, would Granit Xhaka have been allowed to play for the club again? Or would it have been a case of that's unacceptable, that's not how you treat your fans? So I just think that, as fans, we don't really have a lot of power. And I've looked at numerous other clubs across the years that have had certain issues, and they mobilise and organise against, the way things are done. Arsenal fans could not organise anything. Like, we're hopeless. There's so many different things. Like, for example, there have been games where just collectively opposition fans have just put on their torches on their mobile phones. And just so that on the TV, because if it's a televised game, whatever, on the TV, the commentator will say, and the fans are marking on the 17th minute their protest against this for whatever reason. So just that it's put out there that, look, we're together, we as fans don't like it, blah, blah. Other times it's been like throwing objects on the pitch or, whatever it is. Arsenal fans have never been able to do it. So Arsenal fans don't really have a voice, and I don't think we had a choice when it came to Xhaka coming back in the team. But what I would say about his form is that I accept that he has improved. We're talking just kind of like factually here. He set an extremely low bar. So, just a spell of normality was an improvement. But what I would ask, what the more important question is that in his spell of good form, is that good enough for a starting midfielder spot at Arsenal Football Club?
I think you're being a little bit harsh on him there. I'm going to be real. I think he's played well the last few games. I didn't think he had a bad game Saturday, apart from one stupid mistake. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to make mistakes in the midfield. That's going to happen. But this is what I say. There is a scapegoating at Arsenal. There has been at Arsenal since day dot when I started going over there. When you look at players, Paul Davies used to get amounts of stick when I first went over there in the 80s. But he was able to push it through and become a fantastic player for Arsenal. Thomas Partey gave the ball away about 6 times at the end of before he got took off, and everybody's turning around and saying, "Oh, why only took Xhaka off? Why only took Xhaka off?" No one's saying how poor Partey was in that game on a Saturday. And what I would say about that is that not sticking up for Mikel Arteta or what. The reason he's took Partey off because he was tired. He needs to have minutes in the game. The Xhaka's been, whatever you weigh. I think what you have to look at with Granit Xhaka is he sums up Arsenal Football Club to a T. He is Arsenal Football Club at this moment in time. Inconsistent, has good games, has bad games, got a mistake in him. Everything that Granit Xhaka is what Arsenal Football Club is at the moment. And the fact of the matter is, he is our best midfield player. At this moment in time, he is our best midfield player.
No,
right?
he's not, Lee.
Who is in?
Thomas Partey is our best midfield player. And
at the moment, he is not, James.
He is on Saturday. Yeah, on Saturday, Thomas Partey was better than Granit Xhaka.
Yes, on paper, he is. But I'm telling you, this moment in time,
where does Bukayo Saka play then? So you're not classing him as a midfielder then?
No. You're talking about, if you're going to go in, you're going to go Odegaard. But I'm talking about in the role that he does. In the role he does, there's 2 players that play that role, right? Partey, Granit Xhaka, El Neni and Ceballos. That's the 4, right?
Yeah, I just want to say, before we carry on, Turkish, do you have like a button you can press to kick Lee off the podcast?
No. Seriously, and this is the problem. This is the problem with Arsenal fans. Is you see it. He is the best player and that is the problem at Arsenal Football Club. He is the problem because the standards of set are not good enough. He is not. He should not be the best player in Arsenal's midfield. He should be the 4th best player in Arsenal. So he should be a squad player, in my opinion.
I agree with that. But
the fact of the matter is, Thomas Partey, you keep going on about how good Thomas Partey is. When is he going to do something in a game that's going to be great? He done a couple of good things on Saturday. He's not been fit. How many games have we actually won when he's been playing? Not many.
Lee, we scored because of him. He picks up the ball. He plays a lovely 1-2 because he beats a man.
I agree.
He it to Willian, and we
agree.
score.
But so Granit Xhaka's not done it this season?
No, Xhaka doesn't do that. Xhaka doesn't dribble. Xhaka plants his foot and passes it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not saying he dribbles, but he has put in good passes and all things like that.
Yeah, he plays good passes. I agree, but he doesn't do
Thomas
a
Partey. When you watch that goal back, what Thomas Partey did, honestly, I'm not exaggerating this, it looks simple, but it's world class.
It's class. I'll tell you why.
It's what Sergio Busquets has done his whole career. Thomas Partey received the ball back to goal with 4 Burnley defenders in front of him, 2 quite close to him. He's received the ball on his weaker foot on the half turn, sucked 4 Burnley defenders in, played a 1-2, and played a subtle angle.
Who did you play the 1-2 with?
Front foot.
Who did you play the 1-2 with?
And half the time,
1-2 with?
Can't remember who it was. Was it Xhaka?
It was Granit Xhaka. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not all about one player.
But Lee, look.
Listen, you're barking at the wrong tree. I'm not going to argue about it. Look, Thomas Partey is the best player at Arsenal in midfield, but not at the moment. He's not, because he's not fit. You're not listening to what I'm saying. When he's fit, he's going to be great. The ball comes onto him. He smashes it over the bar. There are things in Thomas Partey that are not good at the moment. But what we tend to do is look at all the bad stuff of other players, and if we like someone, this is what I'm saying. We go, we brush over their poor stuff. That's all I'm saying. At this moment in time, whatever way you look at it, even if people criticise Mikel Arteta, right, for whatever, but Mikel Arteta plays this man every single game. Arsene Wenger played him every single game. Pierre-Emerick played him every single game. So, as James said earlier on, he has got to have something for these managers to play him. And I agree with what you're saying. He should not be Arsenal's main midfield player. But he has been Arsenal's main midfield player for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks. Why? Because Thomas Partey's been injured. And he's still the main man at this moment in time, in my opinion.
Ceballos is better than Xhaka. I'm putting that out.
Think so. I would give Ceballos a chance more so, but he doesn't get that. I had an argument with Robbie on Sunday. Was Saturday. Why? Well, who else can you play instead of Xhaka? I don't know, because he doesn't give anybody else that chance to do that. That's my point.
I would rather play Joe Willock. I'd rather Joe Willock was at the club playing in there than Granit Xhaka, because if he makes mistakes, at least I can say, okay, we're understanding his level. We know whether we've got a player on our hands or if someone we need to move on. I've understood Granit Xhaka. Every mistake he makes now doesn't change my opinion at all. I just find it a frustrating delay in time for the inevitable.
Yeah. What about you, Turkish?
I agree. I don't think none of us are going to agree with that. But the standards of Arsenal at the moment is, why are we 10th in the league? Is because Granit Xhaka is our main man in midfield. That's my point.
Well, I get that. Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem. I think, as Arsenal fans, I don't know, we shouldn't argue or debate Granit Xhaka. We should all agree that he's not good enough and we need to move him on, regardless of 5-6 games or regardless of who's around him, because who's around him isn't a measurement of what I want for the future of my club, because Ceballos, not good enough for me. El Nene, not good enough. Willock, not good enough. But we can all argue and debate about who we want in there, because I definitely want, Willock ahead of Xhaka, because that's my personal opinion. I agree with Mo that he would be afforded more mistakes than Xhaka over the last 4 years. Obviously, it came to an end with Willock as well. Ceballos, he's had 2 years. It hasn't worked out. It's not just Xhaka I want rid of, but like Lee said, because Xhaka is the one week in, week out there, he is the one making the mistakes week in, week out. Yeah. Partey, for me, on one hand, I get what Lee's saying, because Partey we expect so much of, and he's not performing to that level. So I'd say we want 8s and 9s out of Partey. We might be getting 6s, 7s. We want
only because of injury. Though. I'm not criticising Partey. What I'm saying is Partey is the man. You know what I mean? I think he's a great player. But at this moment in time, he's being, like 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 60, 70 minutes. He's trying to get him through games at the minute, and that's why I'm saying you're not going to expect to see him hitting the eye. I reckon if he stays injury free, touch wood he does, within another 2 or 3 games, then we're going to see Partey, and then you're going to turn around and we'll say He is the main man at this Arsenal midfield.
I just think when you look at the midfield and the names that need to go, it's everyone but Partey. And that's what I would say. Everyone but Partey in that pivot needs to go. Now, I look at each individual. Ceballos is easy. You can just return him back from his loan spell. Everyone else, I just feel like with Granit Xhaka, I think things have got a bit personal with Xhaka and the fan base. You know, I feel like he's painted the fan base in the same eyes as he's seeing those abusive messages, and it's come across when he took off the captain's armband and told fans to F off, and recently the social media abuse and his comments about talking eye to eye. I agree with him on that, but those ain't Arsenal fans. It just seems like it's become a toxic relationship where if he bags a free kick against Chelsea, his chest will be out and they'll talk about people are talking after Burnley. But on the other hand, these two mistakes in the last 2 weeks is the reason we talk Granit. You know, no one here abuses you. You know, no one here agrees with that abuse. But at the same time, I feel like it's a deflection of the true reality that his time's up. 5 years now. We finished second and bought Xhaka. And we haven't finished.
We've never challenged. Why he's in the midfield, Turkish? Why he's been the main man. I know you don't like to hear that, but why he has been, because he's played the most minutes of any midfield player over the last 5 years. We've not qualified for the Champions League once. It tells you everything you need to know about that midfield. It's not good enough. And that's my point. You know, listen, you ask every Arsenal fan, you ask me, do I think if we could get 25 million for Granit Xhaka, I'll be end up selling. I think most Arsenal fans would, wouldn't they, or wouldn't they? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind, just to take this back to the game and why this is so relevant, why we've dedicated 20 minutes of this show talking about Xhaka and the mistakes, and I think the reason I hone in on that so much, why it matters, is not just that he kicked it off Burnley's tallest player, it went in. Yeah, not smart. We know Xhaka can do that. But for me, one of the biggest frustrations throughout that 90 minutes was I saw us start brilliantly, and for 20 minutes we looked really dangerous, and then we seemed to take the foot off the gas. And then actually when we needed to come back into it in the second half, we couldn't really until it got to the last 15 minutes and we found something. And you look at the manager, that's a team effort. But for me, that always comes from midfield. And Mo, you always talk about Arsenal have a good half in them, but do they have a good 90 minutes? And it's a good point. When's the last time Arsenal played a good 90 minutes of football? And for me, I always look at midfield with that. Like a midfield that can control the game and genuinely dictate the tempo. We attack when we need to. We compose it when we need to. And I feel that when we're not on the front foot, it's not because we're relaxing. It's actually because we're not good enough to just keep doing it for more than 20, 30 minutes. Comes back to Granit Xhaka for me.
And you're right what you're saying there. And also that's when Partey hasn't got that 90 minutes in at the moment. Like I thought he was brilliant the first 20, 25 minutes, and then gradually he fades. And he will do because he's not got the minutes. You know what I mean? That's the thing. When he faded in the game, because in this face it, in the second half he was non-existent. We struggled because you're right, we haven't got that player in midfield that can take it.
This is my problem with Granit Xhaka, and I go back to the question I asked about, are his recent good performances good enough for a midfielder at Arsenal? Because the thing is, when Granit Xhaka plays well, I think he's all right. He still doesn't wow me. I still don't think any other top six club would look at Granit Xhaka on his like one of his good days, not one of his amazing days, which are very, very few and far between, but one of his good days. I don't think any other club would look at him in the top six and say, I'd love to have him. But there's countless other midfielders in the top six, like a Maddison, even a Harvey Barnes, for example, looking at Leicester. Son, for example, at Tottenham, as much as I hate to say that. Bruno, obviously. Henderson, even, at Liverpool.
Tielemans and Ndidi.
Yeah, great ones. Even Yves Bissouma at Brighton, for example. Sometimes I look at him and I think, wow, you can see he's a different level. Now, the problem I have with Granit Xhaka, even when he's having a good day, I still don't think, wow, that's a really good player in there. But when he has a bad day, my God, it costs us. And from what I've seen of Thomas Partey so far, he did give the ball away quite a lot against Burnley. I do accept that, Lee, even though I still think he was better than Xhaka. But I'll be very surprised if in a year's time we're saying about Thomas Partey, when he has a bad day, it's, oh my God, there goes the result, bad day. And that's what Granit Xhaka brings. And that's why I think you kind of need to draw a line under it and say his bad days are too bad for us to accommodate in our team.
100%. I totally agree with that. I think that you're right in what you're saying, and this is what we're going back to. I don't think like Thomas Partey, had a bad game on Saturday, but the level of bad game that what Granit Xhaka would do would be 10 times worse than that. And the fact of the matter is, we're seeing Thomas Partey this moment. I think, believe it or not, I don't care what anybody says, we haven't seen the best of Thomas Partey since the day you're right, because he's not been fit. You know what I mean? And I think this is what I think. If one thing I do agree with Mikel Arteta, I think he's gradually put him in there. A lot of people going, "Oh, why are you taking Partey off on Saturday?" The reason he's taking him off is because he wants him for Thursday. He's more important than anybody. We've got if he gets himself right, we're a different animal. I agree with that, but we've got to do that with Granit Xhaka, improve alongside Thomas Partey, and not say. But there are a lot of fans that say, Granit Xhaka is okay. I'm not saying that he is. I'm saying that we have got to improve. I think we've all agreed, like 3 players, and I would still keep Granit Xhaka at the club if we can't sell him. If we can't sell him, I'd keep him there as a backup, but not as one of the main guys.
I don't think it's got a bit toxically with Xhaka and the fan base.
Yeah,
I don't mean the fan base to Xhaka now. I mean Xhaka's thoughts of the fan base, because it's easy to say the fan base.
I don't think it ever will repair itself after the Crystal Palace game. From the fans' point of view, from his point of view as well. What's the word? You can forgive, but you can't forget. I think that's happened from both sides. If Granit Xhaka does a mistake, it's all going to be brought up, and I think that it does with him. I think the best thing that Arsenal Football Club could do, in my personal opinion, is cut their losses and go and recruit someone else and wish him all the best in the future. I don't understand, which is we've alluded to, why he continues to. But he's the only player in this team, guys, that does not get rested. He plays week in, week out, every minute of the game. I don't understand why. Perhaps, like when people stick up for Mikel Arteta, they can explain why.
Can we stop talking about Granit Xhaka now?
Yeah.
26 years.
You started it anyway.
It's just happened too many times.
Yeah, that's the thing. And when I analysed the game against Burnley, I said, individual mistakes expected, referee mistakes expected, that result expected, it's expected. It's always around the corner, all 4 of those facets. But there's a couple, I believe, positives to take from that game. I don't know which one we want to discuss, or even if you agree it's a positive, but Mari and Pepe. I know Pepe, there's a couple missed chance, one big missed chance, but he had a big impact coming off the bench, which adds on to his recent performances. And Mari, he's been a silent success since he signed for this club. But, let's start with Mari. And is he our most competent? And I say competent because we know athletically he might not be he's not the best athletically. But in terms of his reading of the game, I think he's head and shoulders above anyone else.
Still very soon. Let's not forget Mustafi came in, started brilliantly, and I feel like Arsenal fans don't wait long enough to cast judgment. So for me, it's still a case of jury's still out. Signs are good so far.
Yeah, I think it's a bit different because Mustafi came in next to Koscielny, who was already a mainstay, whereas Mari's been in and out of side. He's been exposed against Man City, injured. He's come back in. He's had various combinations, but you're right, Mo. It's not done and dusted. It's not settled. I think his reading of the game is quality.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do like a reading of the game, and it's a good sign. But I think often with new signings, especially when it's a step up, the thing you really have to look at is how they react to their bad spell, because inevitably they have a bad spell, and that can be the make or break of a player. So, I'll just bring up 2 goalkeepers as an example. De Gea at United really, really struggled at first, and then had the resolve to come back and cement himself. Now he's going through another shaky patch as well. But I actually expect he'll come back and cement himself. I really do. I think that he's shown he's got that resilience. And then you look at Kepa at Chelsea. He folded. People were nervous for him to the extent that other fans almost felt sorry for him. Do you know what I mean? Now, Timo Werner's going through it at Chelsea. Is he going to be able to do what countless strikers at Chelsea have failed to do in the past and get over that spell, that has plagued that club? So with Mari, there probably will be a spell where he makes a couple of mistakes, and does he have the resolve to come back? And that's when we'll know what he's cut out of.
Are we starting Mari against Olympiacos?
Oh God, yes.
Is that a yes, Mark?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think, the problem is it's about familiarity with Olympiacos and how they're going to set up tactically and who he's up against. Because if Arteta wants to keep a high line and they've got a very, very pacey striker, for example, I'm just saying those things combined would make me say, I don't know. But if it's kind of, suited to Murray, then absolutely. I just don't want to kind of set him up to get absolutely roasted because he talked about his lack of athleticism. So we still have to pick the right players for the right system. But I'd be happy to see Murray in there, provided the system suits.
Yeah. Lee, what's your thoughts on Murray so far? Sorry, James.
I've been more than impressed with him. Sometimes there is this thing in football, like, if you ain't got pace and whatever, like some of the greatest defenders have not had tremendous amount of pace. It's about reading the game. I like what he did to Vardy. Vardy's got pace, and he used his experience, his know-how, the way to defend. And I think at the end of the day, he's probably the best defender we got because he's a proper defender, likes to defend, wants to defend. Wants to go toe-to-toe in a battle and that. So I've been very, very, very impressed with him. Totally understand what Mo's saying. I feel that, we're 10, 11, 12 games into his tenure at the Arsenal. He's come from, like most Arsenal players, a big injury as well, which I think he's come back from really, really well. I think that, whether you like it or not, that since him and David Luiz have got together, they've produced a steady partnership. We've looked comfortable in where we've been able to get on the front foot against teams, and I think that's a good sign. Not long term with David Luiz, but someone else alongside him. I think that maybe against Olympiacos are playing, I would look probably against Tottenham, go Gabriel because of his pace when they're in on the counter, so you need a little bit more recovery time, especially if you've got to push up high on them. But for me, I don't think against Olympiacos we've got to push up high. I think we can soak it all up and that. And I think that probably the safest bet would be Mari and Luiz for this game. I've been impressed with him. I've got to say, for what he's done so far, I've been impressed.
James, are they before you go out? Are they products of the environment Arteta's created, though? Because there is a few combinations that have worked over the last 12 months in terms of good patches of form together. Holding Luiz, holding Gabriel, Luiz, Mari holding. Is it the environment around them now that's better equipped, or is Mari part of that new environment?
Yeah, a bit of both. I think one of Arteta's success stories, one of them was the FA Cup win, and the other, because let's face it, we are still 10th, we are still having a poor season, but one of the success stories has been, all right, actually defensively, we look pretty solid. We look pretty dependable, all things considered, from where we were. Not the standards we want to be yet, but it's improved dramatically, I think, under Arteta. And I was always a little hesitant to compliment him too much on it, because I thought, well, we're playing a back three, we're sitting back a lot, our attacking football has kind of been compromised for it. But actually, since Boxing Day, we've played a back four, we've been a little bit more expansive, playing tens, playing a bit more on the front foot, and still I think we've looked quite dependable at the back. I think David Luiz looks good next to Mari, almost because I think when Luiz is put next to Holding or Gabriel, Luiz is expected to be the experienced one, isn't he? Well, because he is, because he's 33. You're the experienced head. Show your experience. But actually, Mari's very experienced himself. He's played at the highest levels of Brazilian and South American football, and he's 27 years old. And he's tall and he's got stature. He's 6'4". And I think there's almost a bit of like, look, I'll lead this. You just defend with your instinct a little bit. So I think he complements him really well. I understand there's a bit of a lack of pace, so there's always that temptation to bring Gabriel back. I get that. Then you get back into the whole, can you have two left-footed centre-backs, all that. But Mari has been a success story, I think, so far. Yes, long time to go. Mustafi started well as well, but I really like what I'm seeing. I love his composure. If he had pace, he'd be the complete centre-back, quite frankly. Real pace. Real, like, raw pace.
Listen, if you're saying that, you think so? Pace. What you're saying then? Pace is the only reason he's not wasn't previously at a top club.
It's a good question. I don't know. I guess what I mean is
maybe, yeah,
maybe.
See, this is where I feel we judge players too quickly. And for me, maybe I'm a bit cynical, but I'm just wondering, why is it that he hasn't had an illustrious career? Based on what we've seen, we see such good glimpses, and I still probably think there's more to come out. as to why he hasn't had an illustrious career. So when we signed Carl Jenkinson, when we signed Yaya Sanogo, I thought to myself, why wasn't there that level of competition? When we got Sead Kolasinac, Team of the Year in the Bundesliga, we got him in a free. Why is it that we were able to just swoop in there? And that might be a really negative outlook that, Arsenal are a big club. Of course, we can go and get players. But I do think sometimes, I'm just going to give it a bit more time because I'm catching me by surprise that we go and sign Jenkinson for £1 million from Charlton. What was it about him? But then Rob Holding, you look at it, on balance, that was good value. I think that was a really good signing given the money we paid for him. So I'm just a bit hesitant with Mari to see, is there something that we might be talking about in a few months' time where we're like, that's crept into his game? Because I remember when Granit Xhaka, going back to him, made his debut, I just thought to myself, what a lovely passing range. What a brilliant player. On the ball, I thought, really, really good, And first few games, you think he'll adapt to the pace and the physicality of the league. He hasn't ever really adapted to the pace. But I saw really good signs. It's only after watching them for quite a while against tough opposition and how they respond to, as they're saying, poor form. So, a little bit, I think we're getting a little bit too carried away with Mari.
I'll tell you what with Mari, though, I'll be honest. I've seen him, he played really well until he got injured against Man City. He has played well against some of the big boys as well. I think, and you, as you rightly say, I think I'm not going to jump in because I think that's the wise thing to do. But what I've signed so far look like he can handle the Premier League.
Yeah, it does. It's you know what it is, Mo, with Mari. I'm definitely not one to jump the gun. It's just that with Holding, I know he's not good enough. With Luiz, I know he's not good enough. With Gabriel, I want to find out. With Mari, I want to find out. That's just how I look at it. And that same goes for striker position with Eddie and Laka. Like, regardless what they do in the next 10 games or what they've done in the last 20, I've already made my choice up on a lot of these players. That's why I'd rather see Mari and Gabriel a lot more so I can make my mind up with them and we can make our minds up. The club can make their mind up. I think about all this dilly-dallying between the old lot and the new lot, and that includes Xhaka as well and El Nene. There's a lot of old lot players in there that need to go, and I want to see some more of the refreshing faces because we need a lot of refreshing. It might not be the right answers to the questions, but Lee?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking the other thing to look at is that Gabriel started off so well, didn't he? And then he's been a bit dodgy the last month or so.
Yeah,
maybe he's sort of settled into the Arsenal way of defending, and now that's how it is, But he was fantastic for the first few months, and he's gone a little bit dodgy. I have to say that. I wasn't impressed with his performance against Benfica. Yeah. So I'm a bit unsure about him now. So it's funny how, 6 or 7 games you think, he's a quality. One or two bad games you think, oh, hold on a minute, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, because when you're young like that as well, Lee, you're gonna take knocks, and it's about how you learn and bounce back from it. So
exactly.
I'm glad he had that Benfica game because we won it, we got through, and he had a terrible game. It's up to him to try and learn and adapt.
I agree. I don't think the COVID thing's helped him out neither. I think he just lost a little bit of power in his game, but hopefully he'll get it back. But I've just lost a little bit of trust with him. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? That Benfica game was an awful game.
What are you saying? Bring back in, Lee, yeah? What about Pepe? Obviously, he came on, made an impact, should have won it for us. He should have got me the 3 points in our league, but we'll leave that to the end. Pepe.
Starts Thursday for me, boys. Starts Thursday for me.
And me.
I like him. I want to see him play. I've always said about Pepe, listen, he might not dazzle all the time, right? But he's stealthily, very, very stealthily racks up the goals and the assists. And what do you want from a midfielder, from a forward, basically? We always said about Perez and Ljungberg, they give you double digits when it comes to goals, when it comes to assists, that sort of thing. And then you look at Pepe and you think, hold on a second, he ekes them out and we still aren't impressed. And I think that's a good sign. You know how they say when a championship winning team is a team that can get results without playing well? Well, he kind of does that in his own way.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's very true. He's not, and also not to disrespect Willian, who I thought did okay against Burnley. It was nothing like the return of Ronaldinho against Leicester. But, Pepe doesn't get those assists where he's passed it to Aubameyang, 5 yards, and Aubameyang's done all the rest. I think Pepe gets proper assists. He'll whip it to the back post. He'll put it in the top corner from a free kick. he has really quite special moments without playing that well, which is why I'm always surprised when Arteta yanks him off when we need a goal. I'm thinking, but if anyone can do something from nothing, it's actually Pepe, arguably better than Saka can. So yeah, I think he starts for me, and he missed the chance, but I'm really willing to look over that because when he came on, can't believe he came on as late as he did, 72nd minute or something.
Yeah,
he came on and he turned the tide. We were doing nothing. Burnley were the better team that second half till Pepe comes on. He struck fear into them, and I loved it. Popping up right, left, going down the outside, inside, getting into dangerous positions. You know, he scuffed the first chance, but then the way he took the one on the volley, that was obviously off the shoulder in the end. Well taken, just unlucky. So I'm liking him a lot right now. I was wrong, by the way. I'll hold my hands up. I was wrong. I wrote him off. I was one of them, but no, he's doing really well.
there's a lot of fans that wrote him off. You know, obviously the price tag being in the back of people's minds, you're always gonna compare him to that. I think now's the time to let go of that price tag and just see what we can get out of him, because he's never going to reach that value if we're honest with ourselves, but he can definitely bring something to this team. He does bring something to this team. You know, he does. And he made an impact. If only he could have won it, because that would have been another game that he's won for us this season, because he's already won a couple for us this season. And in a season of few wins, a couple sounds like quite a lot, you know. And another game, no Martinelli. Any surprises there, or 1-1 and, you know... Mo shook his head. James shook his head.
I'm gonna jump in here. Yes, if I really want to like waste a lot of energy, not waste, but spend a lot of energy thinking about it. Yeah, maybe a little worrying that we've not seen him as much recently. In fact, almost definitely is. But I can't really argue with Ceballos, Lacazette, and Pepe coming on. You can only use 3 subs. I keep looking at the way he's managed Saka really well, and I'm just gonna not worry about it. But I understand why others are. I think Mo's worrying about it. And I'll accept that. But I'm just not going to yet. Yeah.
Why invest so much time and money in a senior player like Willian, and at the expense of what is an incredible talent like Martinelli? I just think it's short-sighted. I really do.
Yeah.
Also,
I was arguing with Cecil and Robbie when we did our preview show and we had our starting 11s, and I dropped Willian for Martinelli in mine, and they were saying, how could you? He played so well against Leicester. He's finally found form, and he did well against Benfica. And I said, well, because in the nicest way, I kind of don't really, unless he's dropping world-class performances, I don't really care how well he's playing, because I care more about Martinelli getting those chances. And Martinelli can play at that level. I've seen him play at that level. I know he can do it and beyond. So I don't really care. I'd rather it went the minute. So I agree with you, Mo.
And also, like, you know, very often in a football season, you're looking for games where you think, okay, we can afford to play these youngsters, for example. We can afford to play certain players to get them experience. Our Premier League season is a flipping write-off. Use it wisely. You're getting free Premier League time. That is a very, very rare resource. Use it wisely.
Yeah, I think that maybe like in there was always that chance that maybe they could still get top 4. Maybe that's what they was looking at. I don't know. I can't understand the Martinelli thing, but I could tell you this now. I am very much on the fence with Mikel Arteta. But I'll tell you this now. If he plays Willian on Sunday against Spurs and we lose that game, that is me done with Mikel Arteta, because I'm telling you this now. I'm on the ball. I'm on the fence. I weren't happy with the Lacazette coming on and playing in the number 10 role. What was all that about? You know what I mean? He's a forward that's been playing really well. His hold-up play in the last few games has been really good for Arsenal. He's played really well, by the way, Lacazette. And then all of a sudden he brings him on in midfield, like in the number 10 role. He could have put. There was a couple of options that he could have. One was to keep all the guard on, but I think maybe he was looking at Thursday night a little bit for that. But I would have chucked Willian in there and put Martinelli out on the wing. That's what I would have done for that game. See what you can do, you know, something different. But he chose not to again. And people can say what they would like about it. Like, it is starting to worry me as well. I'm with Mo on this. Like, you know, there's opportunities now. We are 10th in the league. This is not like we're 3rd in the league going for the title and I can look at it and go, do you know what? Yeah, I can see why he's not playing. We are 10th going nowhere. Why is this kid not being given a chance? You know, and it ain't the only one. Balogun's another one that keeps being brought up. Like, why has he not been given a chance in the squad? Like, you know, and it is a big worry for me. And keeps persevering with Willian. Yes, he had a great game, Willian, the other day. So probably, like, you know, I would have probably played him in that game as well. But you know, these next two games, I think this is really telling me a lot what I need to know about Mikel Arteta if Willian's playing him, because one, I can understand Pepe getting in front of Martinelli at the moment. I accept that. I accept it. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to accept Willian getting in front of Martinelli with no previous backup performances in the bank to say, yes, you deserve to be in place of Martinelli. And that is, you know, these two good games. I might be coming off the fence. The flip flop may not be a flip flop no more.
Just a quick one, guys. It's such a shame, isn't it? Aubameyang, right? That what he does, cutting in from the left, couple of step overs, leaves a defender for dead, deceives the goalkeeper. He did it against Meslier against Leeds, scored exactly the same goal. He's got that down to a T, and unfortunately, no one's talking about him doing that. Because I find it interesting that goalkeepers get criticised for that. He's almost got a hand to it. You know, he's beaten at the near post. Yet Aubameyang does it so regularly. Obviously, goalkeepers will know he's going to do that. Yet they can't stop it. You know, I've got a lot of time for that. He does that very, very well. Unfortunately, you know, no one's talking about it because who the hell cares? Drew 1-1 against Burnley.
No, it's good that he's kept his recent goal scoring form up, because obviously our cup still is this Thursday, and then the second leg of our cup final is next Thursday. As long as we are still.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does play wide left on Thursday. And then Lacazette down the middle. It wouldn't surprise me.
How are we feeling about Thursday?
Huh?
How are we all feeling about Thursday?
Nervous.
Confident.
No, that's it. Like, just have a look at the table. Now we're in trouble. We're in trouble now.
Benfica, I got right. First leg and second leg. You got it wrong both legs. You said you thought we're going out, mate. So I don't know about this prediction here. But listen, we will include Europa League. Obviously, at the end of the show, we'll bring up the table and whatnot, people. You'll see it then. But yeah, what are our thoughts on the Olympiacos game? Like, who are we going with? Who's the front four? Because Lee makes a good point. With Emil Smith-Rowe out, I think his ideal four is not available. So does Pepe slot in on the left and then Oba stays up top? Or does Laka go up top, Oba move to the left? Does Willian start again?
Go on, Lee.
I would go, as I said, I would go Pepe, Aubameyang and Saka. That would be my three, with Odegaard just behind. That would be the four that I would play. But I'm going to say this now. I wouldn't be surprised if Aubameyang plays on the left-hand side and Lacazette. I could understand that to a certain degree. I wouldn't be happy with it because I feel that Pepe deserves a chance. I'll be not very, very happy if Willian is in there and Pepe's on the bench, Martinelli's on the bench. I think if he goes that route, I wouldn't be so happy. But he could go that way. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, lads. But for me, Pepe deserves a chance. That'd be my front four.
Is the bigger question, is Xhaka starting this game?
Yeah.
Is that a yes, a bigger question, or he starts?
First man on the team sheet, wearing the armband. He's probably picking the 11. But yeah, he's playing. He is playing.
Yeah, you don't think he'll be, Arteta, because Arteta's looked at holding mistake. He's been come out of the side. Ceballos, same thing.
I would like to see Ceballos and Partey just for one or couple of games, just to see what that was like. I'll be honest, I would like to see that, but we're not going to see it.
Yeah, I think that would be my two. That if I had the choice, that would be my two.
Arteta seems to have decided that Partey is like the box to box of the midfield pairing, let's say. Which surprises me because I think he's very comparable to, say, Fernandinho and what he did at City when he was that sort of that defensive midfielder. And the goal we scored against Burnley, it is Partey who comes deep and gets it, and knocks it off and gets it. And we've spoken about it, but we know his defensive attributes. I would like to see him be the anchor man and Ceballos being a kind of more free roaming player next to him. And I bet you'll see a better Ceballos with a real dynamic defensive midfielder next to him, where you could take a bit more risk, press with a bit more freedom and just express himself a little bit.
I even think if you keep it as it is with them two, like you are right, that's an interesting approach to it. But I think but when you look at some, like, you know what, James, do this for me. Obviously, there's no time for it now, but I know you know about your stats and whatnot. I think per 90 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if Ceballos makes more interceptions and tackles than Xhaka.
No, he does. He does.
Yeah.
You're right. So we do this AFTV picks. Go check it out. It's on the app. And one of the questions is always how many tackles will blah blah make, or whatever. And Ceballos is always up there, right? He's up there right now in the top 3 or 4, and he doesn't even start every game. He's a real, and I mean this in the most complimentary of ways. He's a nasty, in the way he sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just people who are really tenacious and at your feet and pest. That's the one, pest.
He's a pest, definitely. So I think both ways, that's interesting. I'd go with that. Mo, what's your thoughts on the pivot?
Well, listen, on the game itself, right? And I've just looked at the table. I don't watch Greek Super League football, but Olympiacos are top of their league by 16 points. Yeah. So they've lost one game all season in the league. They are used to winning. And I think sometimes we can be a bit arrogant because we're the Premier League, right? So when we go and face a team outside of like the main leagues, we kind of think, oh yeah, small fry. But what's very difficult is that when you play a team who are used to winning, who are just in that habit of winning, they don't view you how you view them. They don't view themselves how you view them. They view themselves as big and a competent team. So also they went and beat PSV over the 2 legs in the last round, and PSV are second in the Dutch league. So that's not, I'd say, if you're looking at pound for pound, what's a better achievement? 10th in the Premier League, which is a better league, or second in the Dutch league? I'd say second in the Dutch league. Do you know what I mean? And what I'm trying to do is just say that we can't really take them for granted here. I don't think it will be easy because, they're going to be a.
Are we even favourites? Let's be honest here, because we were 10th in the league and Olympiacos knocked us out last season. Are we favourites?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. What based off of what? The names on the paper?
Yeah. Well, look, let me give you one example. Socrates was surplus to requirements. He's ended up there. I mean, it's quite clear, isn't it, that man for man, they would take a hell of a lot of players that we've got, over what they've got. And on that basis, we're favourites. So simple as that, really. And I think we will get through. But I think coming up, I think we're going to scrape it 1-0. And I would love to see Pepe play. I think we'll also see Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Ødegaard. I think that'll be our front four.
So scraping it 1-0, yeah.
No,
Saka won't play.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if Arteta will give him a rest, to be honest with you, Saka, because I'm worried about his burnout.
He looked a little burnt out against Burnley, didn't he?
Yeah, I just feel like he does need. You do need to protect the player to an extent, and we've got Tottenham as well. Don't forget on Sunday. You have to keep that in mind because it's a big game, and I think Arteta will know that if we get smashed against Tottenham, there'll be a tide that will turn against him.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a glaring omission, a big omission from the team, and I think that could be Saka.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a difficult one though. If he rotates against Olympiacos with Tottenham in mind and fluffs his lines, then Tottenham game probably becomes a outer ring question. If it doesn't go his way. So I don't know if rotation would be the right. I think you have to play Saka against Olympiacos. I think his job is literally on the line, in my opinion. I know his name hasn't been in the headlines as much recently, and good. Like for once, it's not for once, it's focused on the board, but at least people are not on his back as much as they was. But a 2-game swing like this, Olympiacos and Tottenham, right back into that feeling we had with 10 minutes to go against Benfica, where Arteta is literally on his way out. So I think that would be a risky one, Mo. It would be a risky one.
Yeah,
I see it. Yeah.
I think if Arteta loses against Tottenham but gets through over 2 legs of Olympiacos, he'll be fine, provided the defeat isn't, provided they're not making DVDs about the win, Tottenham. So the thing is, I personally feel like that he's going to have to manage his squad. Let's not forget, even after the Olympiacos second day, we've got West Ham, who are on great form as well.
Yeah.
So 4 real big tough games, including 2 London derbies and 2 legs that are going to define our season in Europe. And there will be selection discussions ahead.
Do you know what I think we're all a little hesitant to say? That I think we're kind of all implying is that if Arteta doesn't win the Europa League, you know, I mean, what are we saying? It sounds to me like it's kind of win the Europa League or bust. It feels a little like that because the Premier League season's been so poor. If he was sixth, right? If he was sixth, fifth, sixth, seventh, I think people would accept it because everyone knows the amount of work. But 10th is so far off where we belong, and we were toothless in the FA Cup and the Carabao. It's almost like you better win this competition. And is that really fair on Arteta, despite everything?
Put himself there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Put himself there, with what he's done. Listen, Arsenal can, we've got some. I wouldn't say after that Tottenham West Ham game, we've got a lot of winnable games in there. Then, where I think they could rotate the squad a little bit more. We've got the likes of a few things down there, but I think Liverpool are in there. But I think we've got Liverpool after that, and then I think we've got like West Brom. We've got a few of the bottom teams, Brighton. I know we've got a few of the teams that are in and around the bottom. So he could actually, over the next couple of weeks, keep playing players, keep the momentum going, and then just maybe in those last few league games, depending if we're through, he can rotate a little bit more. And I think that's what he'll do. I think he'd be foolish as a manager to start rotating them with the Tottenham game. Because, and I think that the one thing I do like about Mikel Arteta, he understands it. He's played in these games. He knows what this game means, And yes, as much as it's important to win the Europa League games, Tottenham are in the same boat. They need to win those Europa League games, and and they'll be playing us. So, what I wouldn't like is if I go to that game at the Emirates and we've made 3 or 4 changes, they've made none. Then I would be like, well, why are they not? Why are they doing it and we're not? So I think it's a very, very tricky thing to do. I really do. But I think that the manager will go with very, very strong sides on both occasions. Don't forget, we haven't got to win on Thursday. I know that sounds silly. We can go there and get a score draw, and that would be a good result.
Yeah, so where are you going with prediction-wise, Lee?
I'm going to go for a score draw, 1-1.
1-1, 1-0 Mo James.
I actually think we'll nick it 1-0. Boring game I'm seeing here, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be quite open because I'm expecting us to try and go for their necks. I know people might say it might be silly to do that, but I think they embarrassed us last year. Olympiacos embarrassed us last year. We've embarrassed ourselves being in that competition years on end, but in that competition, we've been embarrassed by Olympiacos. And James, you asked a question about Arteta and is his job on the line with the Europa League. And I think it comes down to if we face a team that I believe are the favourites and I believe, are better than us, then I wouldn't knock and say Arteta go if we was to go out. But I think Olympiacos, we should not be going out to Olympiacos again. Yeah. We shouldn't have gone out to them in the first place. But again, it would just think of not learning from your mistakes. And that goes to the... Yeah. And I think that Benfica one was because it's the same round, it's a similar level of club. It was literally like, have you learned your lesson? We scraped it. We got through. Kind of make this one easier on us in terms of that roller coaster 90 minutes we had against Benfica. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal first leg. Wow. I'm going to go 3-1. And usually we don't count this towards the league table we do or the weekly predictions. But
listen, if they win 3-1, you can have the 3 points, all right? You can have 3 points on the league table, all right?
No. Do you know what? Off camera, for everyone watching this, Turkish begged us. He was pleading. He was like, please, I need more chances to get off a bottom. Please include this. So we've got a lot of sympathy for Turkish. It's basically charity. We've said that usually it's a Premier League prediction thing. He's so desperate. He's so bloody desperate to get some points on the board. We said, fine, we'll let you do Europa League.
I feel that if they win 3-1, I think we should let him at least get something for this.
Yeah, all right, so it's just my ones that count then. All right, so it's only my prediction.
No.
What we're saying.
If it gets 3-1, we'll have a little decide what point systems you should get.
Right? Wait, if I get the right prediction, Lee, I get 3 points, mate. You're trying to.
I don't know about that. It's not Premier League, is it?
No, but that's what we're saying. Because he begged us for another chance to get some points on the board. Because he's embarrassed himself sitting
Adam, Jason. If he gets it right, I think it's a minimum of 2 points. Minimum of 2 points if he gets it right, 3-1. Yeah.
No. This is just a normal round. No special treatment for anyone. 3 points if you get the correct score.
Who's begging now? Did you hear that one, people? Mo, make sure that listen, Mo's not that far off, people. I'm sure the next time we're back on AFTV, Mo might be the one at the bottom of that league table. But obviously, this has been the Forever Arsenal podcast, usually exclusive to AFTV VIP.
Thanks, his smug smile there. Look at him.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on James. Right? Yeah, 5 points.
I'm top because of a draw at Burnley. I'm hardly happy about it, but
Statman.
Statman takes the lead. It is what it is. But people, make sure you continue supporting us at AFTV VIP. If you like the show, we're there weekly. But today's show, leave us your thoughts in the description and the comments below. And we'll be back sometime in the future on AFTV and end of this week on AFTV VIP.